Hi, I'm Ali Patterson. On this episode of the Regtech Show, we're exploring the implications that come with PSD2 and the benefits of embracing such regulations. For this, we focused on Sweden, so I sent Leah Jacobiak to go and speak with Capco.
Hi, I'm Leah Jacobiak and I'm in Stockholm. I'm here to meet with Annette Tonneryd, Managing Partner at Capco Nordics. So what are the implications of open banking on financial institutions?
As the name implies, it's all about opening the banking value chain to allow entrances of new players and more innovative products and services. Open banking will challenge the historical vertical integration of production and distribution of products and services within banks and allow a more horizontal landscape split between producers and distributors of FS products. As a client, I will be able to access traditional banking products such as an account, a card, a mortgage via specialized providers without having to be a client in a traditional bank.
In the Nordic markets, I think that all banks are rather prepared for this. We already have our sandbox out to try on this since last year, and several of our competitors or peers also have that one. So I think that in the Nordic markets, the open banking will kind of continue the journey we are already into, where banks are becoming some kind of ecosystems, and I see open banking as three things. It's a technology solution and the opportunity for us to aggregate data to become the full financial provider for our customers. It's also a possibility to distribute our services through others, and it's an opportunity to find collaborations with fintechs and others to really create good services to our customers. But on the other hand, I think that going outside of the Nordic markets and some of the other more mature European markets, this will become something rather dramatic. But that depends on where you are in your matureness and digitalization journey.
We were interested to find some of the benefits about embracing an open banking network. So I'm here at Capco in London to speak a little bit about open banking and PSD2. What are some of the benefits and opportunities for banks that are embracing some of the disruption that open banking could bring?
I think there's quite a lot of benefits to be honest. So if you look at the brand of a lot of the existing banks, there's quite often a lot of trust and a perception of security built into those brands. And that's a strategic advantage that many banks have in this new world of open banking competition, where you've got more fintechs competing for a higher share of the market and more of the distribution of those financial products. So that's a great opportunity for banks to use that, especially with some of the older generations who don't adopt some of the new open banking initiatives or even new startups like the Monzos and Starlings of the world so easily as some of those younger generations.
So what are the implications of open banking on the financial institutions, especially in the Nordics?
I think it's a starting point when we look at statistics of how people conduct their banking business. Last year, 2017, of all the Nordic countries, 85 to 90% are already doing their banking online. So that's a great starting position for the banks to further continue on the open banking journey. Now, there's a bit of a shift in mindset, I think, where banks need to reconsider their position when it comes to open banking. So either you continue to be a producer of services, which effectively means that you try and hang on to your end-to-end customer relationships, but there will be new entrants to the market that will challenge those services, and you need to be aware that that will happen. So with that comes the decision. Do we as a bank continue to only produce services, or do we look at what fintechs or other companies are providing within what is now open banking and actually distribute that service to our end customers to continue to build a stronger client relationship, to continue to effectively gather more data so that we can make better decisions. From a Nordic perspective, we're a bit behind, I would say the UK has come a long way in terms of starting to implement it, but also educating the market and the consumers of what it is. We still have some way to go, making sure that consumers are aware of the upsides of what open banking will bring. But I think the banks are a good way forward now in actually thinking about what open banking will mean for them.
Not embracing open banking is not an option for banks, I think. This is the way forward. So if you want to remain the one customers prefer, you need to embrace the new technologies to ensure that you are delivering the service and functionality and capabilities that consumers demand.
So there's definitely an opportunity to use that and leverage that brand that they've built up over many years. But I think the other one is it's an opportunity of collaboration with these fintechs and with these innovators that are disrupting the market. Banks could take a step back and be defensive about it, or they could look at the customer experience that they deliver to their customers and see it as an opportunity to take some of the technology, take some of the products that are being developed and bring those into the customer journey that they provide to their existing customers.
I think that it's important, the most important thing for us in this is to ensure that we are a good collaboration partner for third parties and others, and that we are really good in integrating things between us and others. It shall be very easy for to work with us for third parties, as well as being the best bank to be a customer in.
I think the spirit of the regulation is in the right place. It is about how do we help our customers? How do we allow them to actually own and see their own data, manipulate it, and be able to use it for other experiences to help them manage their finances better, have a better picture, and have more choice. And I think that's a really powerful thing. So what that's done is that it's, as a side almost to that, it's waking up the bank, at least our bank, to the possibilities of an API future, which is exactly where all the technology companies are going. And actually, in order for a large corporation nowadays, not just banks, but any large corporation to survive, it needs to be more innovative and it needs to be up with all the trends. And building an API-based platform is absolutely the right thing to do.
So after hearing about some of the implications and benefits of open APIs and PSD2, we wanted to find out how such regulations are going to have an effect in the very near future. What do you think is going to be happening over the next 12 months or so, now that PSD2 is here?
I think what we'll see from banks is a shift from a focus on just simply being compliant and being compliant in time to a view of what can we now do to leverage this and turn it into a strategic advantage and get off the back foot essentially. So we know that a lot of our clients have been massively focused on simply meeting the deadlines and being compliant. So now there's a slight shift in the mindset of now that we've done that, what do we do with it and how do we compete and how do we avoid some of the new entrants taking some of those market shares and traditional revenue lines that they've enjoyed for so long.
I think that is there something that banks are good at, it is to manage data and making it secure and safe for our customers to collect data and be sure that it's safe. So I actually see that both PSD2 and GDPR are two very good regulations that benefits the customers and the consumers. So now it's up to us to make these regulations really beneficial for the customers by making services that are using them in the right way. And in terms of GDPR, that states that the customer owns their data. You need to ensure that the customer understands what the data is used for and that you are transparent about that. And I don't see that as something that will be very difficult going forward. Nevertheless, also the PSD2 ensures that you are able to deliver and aggregate your transactional data and initiate payments, etc. So for us, it will be to understand which parties will we collaborate with on distributing our services and what parties can we collaborate with to develop further the services in our own channels. So I think that those two they might seem contradictory, but they are really beneficial for our consumers.
With all of the challenges that PSD2 brings, we'll be curious to find out how Capco approaches consulting financial institutions to tackle these effectively.
We like to say we help our clients solve old world problems to pave the way for new world solutions. By that we mean we create together with our clients innovative responses to strategic questions, taking into consideration the current environment, both in the dimension of technology and organization. We ask the hard why and what if questions as we engage in co-creation with our clients to challenge how things are working today and define the future state, while always ensuring that our recommendations are actionable and helping our clients to be able to execute upon them.
Being in this position as we are has been a huge benefit for us because the customers are our main source for innovation. Only by listening to them we are able to innovate new services internally, but also in the Swedish financial sector we have a unique tradition of collaboration to really benefit our customers by new innovative financial services, and we almost act like fintech companies, the Swedish banks, by delivering services like mobile bank ID, working in all society as well as in banks and for fintechs. And we have Swish, that is an instant payment solution that is commonly innovated by banks, us being one of the main drivers in both two. And we also have a collaboration around clearing and to make real-time payments, etc. So it's a really good position to be in. And coming to the Baltic markets, it's so much energy there and innovation power. So there we are really in the forefront of the market already. And that has been kind of a tradition to follow the customers and then be part of the forefront. Going forward, I think that the most important thing is to continue listening to the customers and understanding their needs, what's happening around the corner, and really embrace new technologies and continue to collaborate.
What are some of the kind of areas that you develop the technology for banks? Is it very much on the customer-facing side of things?
It's both, to be honest. We've launched a number of mobile web products, propositions to our banking clients and their customers. But equally, we've worked on internal tools. So especially in the investment bank, where some of the internal processes and ways of doing things have benefited greatly from some design thinking, but also putting, in this case, the user of those tools at the heart of that design process. So streamlining a typical back office ops team, giving them an online or even a mobile tool in some instances to make their lives easier, to reduce some of that cost, and ultimately improve the end customer experience.
Finally, we wanted to hear how financial institutions are to adapt if they really want to leverage such benefits of regulations such as PSD2.
So I think in general it's a huge opportunity, and it's also a threat in the same way. It will drive more competition for the distribution of those products. So banks need to decide where they want to play. They need to decide on their strategy for open banking. But the key is applying that strategy throughout the group. These are large corporate organisations with many departments, and a lot of our clients tend to have multiple different open banking projects and initiatives running all at once. They all need to be tied up, they all need to be in line with the group's overall strategy. Is probably the first area of advice. I think secondly, they need to decide if they will own that customer relationship still, and where they want to play. So they need to look at their core strengths and play to those. If they are going to give up some of that customer relationship, then embrace that fully and be collaborative with those fintechs or startups that are putting new products and new distribution options out there for customers. And I think thirdly, they need to decide if this is a cost play or a revenue play or both, and it can be any one of those. But what we see our clients focusing on at the moment is almost being defensive. So they're looking at startups like Bud or Starling and Monzo and taking a very defensive outlook. It is equally an opportunity to reduce their cost base as well. If you look at their distribution models for complex products like mortgages or investment products, that quite often banks will have networks of brokers, advisors that all come with a high cost when you process those applications for new products, for example. So open banking is equally an opportunity to work with a fintech player who perhaps has a platform for mortgage brokers that would then reduce the cost for banks. And if they do that simultaneously with a revenue play, then it's a great opportunity.
I think we're on a start of a much larger journey, taking open banking into consideration. If banks only look at PSD2 as a compliance game, they're getting it wrong. Open banking will fundamentally change the way banking looks, and it will inadvertently introduce new players, non-traditional banks, that will benefit the end customer. So I think we'll see a much more integrated ecosystem, not only of financial service providers, but actually maybe non-financial type of companies that can offer services and products that will benefit from a banking perspective. So it's definitely exciting times to come in the light of open banking.
Are you leveraging your digital strength that you have here in the Nordic markets and using that to help the digitization in the Baltic markets?
I think it's a two-way helping each other because we are mature in different ways. For example, now we have initiated an accelerator in Riga because there are so many young people, well educated with very good ideas in the Baltic markets. So we see that we can capture them. We also see that we are normally very fast moving in the Baltic markets. What we see that the Baltic markets really have beneficial to look at Sweden from is how we have done the digitalization journey in terms of, for example, e-enablers like mobile bank ID and the collaboration topics. So we are kind of supporting each other and bringing the best from each market and combining it to good solutions jointly.
Now that PSD2 has come into effect, how will financial institutions adapt and what advice will you be giving them?
I think the short-term impact of PSD2 is less dramatic than some implies and has allowed each financial institution to focus on the compliance dimension of it, right? However, PSD2 is the start of a regulatory journey where you drive much more innovation and client centricity in the FS industry. For the financial institution who sees this and rethinks their strategy in regards to collaborating with, for example, the Fintech ecosystem, there will be great opportunity when the next wave of the open banking regulation come. As far as advice to any specific financial institution, I would probably ask them to rethink their business model and ask themselves, what if you needed to share all your data with all clients and competitors? What would the implications be? If there was ever a time to redesign and build platforms for data supply management and AI management, the time is now.
Join us for the next episode of the Regtech Show, where we're going to be looking at how companies can remain compliant when it comes to KYC.